The Witch King of England, fact or legend? Did England ever have a king so feared, so surrounded by mystery, that people believed he used dark magic to stay in power? For centuries, strange tales have been told of a ruler known not just for his crown, but for his curse. A monarch whispered about in fear. Some say he was a sorcerer. Others say he was never real. But what if there's more truth to the story than most people think? Today we will talk about the Witch King of England, fact or legend. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to my channel. 10. The name that haunts history. You won't find the name Witch King in any official history book. No royal scrolls. No coronation records. But in old stories passed down through generations, a shadowy figure keeps appearing. A ruler surrounded by strange events. A king more feared for his presence than for his power. People didn't understand what they saw, so they gave him a name that fit the fear, the Witch King. Not because they knew who he was, but because no one could explain what he was. 9. Rumors of forbidden rituals. Stories passed down through the centuries claimed this king wasn't content with earthly power. He wanted more. People said he was drawn to the occult, chasing knowledge no man should ever touch. At night, he would vanish into hidden chambers inside the castle, alone. Doors were sealed, windows covered. Strange lights flickered under the cracks. Some whispered that he was calling on spirits from the other side. Others believed he was searching for immortality. No one knew for sure, but whatever he was doing in those secret rooms, it left people afraid and convinced that their king was dealing with something far darker than politics. 8. The crown that brought misfortune. After the king's death, whispers started about the crown he left behind. People believed it was cursed, tainted by whatever dark power he had invited during his reign. Those who wore it next seemed to meet strange fates: sudden illness, unexpected betrayal, short, troubled rule. Historians can't prove a curse, but the pattern was too strong to ignore, one downfall after another. Over time, fear of the crown grew so strong, some even refused to touch it, not because of politics, but because they believed it carried the shadow of the Witch King himself. 7. Vanished from the records. Here's where things get even stranger. Official records from this king's reign are missing. Not just scattered pages, but entire sections of royal archives are gone. Documents that should detail his rule, his laws, even his death, completely erased. Some believe they were destroyed on purpose, maybe by those who feared what those pages revealed. Others think the records were never written at all, because what really happened was too dark, too dangerous to put in writing. Whatever the reason, history has a hole where his story should be, and that silence speaks louder than anything else. 6. The people rose in fear. This king didn't just face political unrest, he faced fear from his own people. Across the kingdom, whispers turned into protests. Entire villages believed their ruler was tied to dark forces. They didn't trust his decisions. They didn't trust his presence. Some were so afraid, they rose up against him. These weren't just revolts over taxes or territory. They were acts of desperation, driven by terror. His army crushed the uprisings, but the damage was done. Even in victory, the fear stayed, and it spread. 5. The mysterious advisor. In nearly every story about the Witch King, one figure always appears in the background. A shadowy man who never left the king's side. No one knew his name, no titles, no history. He simply appeared one day at court, and from that moment on, he was always there. Some claimed he was a wizard, skilled in ancient magic. Others believed he was a fallen monk, cast out by the church for practicing forbidden rituals. What made people uneasy was how close he was to the king. He spoke in private with him often. Decisions changed after their meetings. Laws shifted. Punishments grew harsher. Strange symbols began appearing around the palace. His presence was quiet, but powerful. Over time, People noticed the king's behavior growing darker, more distant, more dangerous. Many believe this advisor wasn't just giving advice. He was guiding the king down a path he could never return from. 4. No one knows where he was buried. Every king in England's history has a final resting place. Grand tombs, royal crypts, or stone monuments that mark their legacy. But this king, nothing. No grave, no burial site, no official record of where his body was laid to rest. It's as if he vanished from the earth the moment he died. Some believe he was buried in secret, far from the royal grounds, to hide the truth of his death. Others think his tomb was purposely hidden, sealed away to keep people from ever finding it, out of fear that his dark power might still linger. And then there are those who whisper something even darker, that he was never buried at all, because his body was never found. 3. The old prophecies. Long before his reign, ancient texts spoke of a king unlike any other, a ruler who would rise with unnatural power, one who would bring both greatness and destruction. These prophecies were dismissed at the time, thought to be just old myths or vague warnings. But when this king came to power, something changed. The signs began to match. The strange storms, the sudden victories, the fear spreading through the land. People began to wonder, was this the king the old writings spoke of? The one meant to rule with a power that wasn't entirely human? By the time the warnings were taken seriously, it was already too late. His influence had taken root. The prophecy wasn't just a story anymore. It was unfolding, word for word. 2. A legacy of fear. Even after he was gone, his shadow never left. For generations, people continued to whisper his name, but never too loudly. Parents told stories of the Witch King, not as bedtime tales, but as warnings. Behave, or he'll come for you. His legacy wasn't one of honor or greatness. It was one of fear. Over time, the line between truth and legend blurred. Some details faded, others grew darker. His story wasn't written in history books. It was kept alive through fear, through superstition, through the kind of story you tell with a lowered voice. And even now, centuries later, the legend still lingers, not because people remember who he was, but because they remember how he made them feel. 1. What's the truth? Historians will tell you, there's no solid proof that the Witch King existed exactly as the stories claim. No official title, no clear records, nothing you can point to and say, that's him. But there's too much that doesn't add up. Whole sections of history missing, real uprisings unexplained, a powerful ruler erased from royal memory. It's not just one odd detail, it's a pattern. And patterns like this don't happen by accident. So the question remains, was there really a king so strange, so feared, so unexplainable, that England chose to erase him? Not because he didn't exist, but because they didn't want to remember him. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.